Hello everybody, my name is Will and welcome back to Flyout once again. Today we're going to be building something which I didn't actually see suggested all that often, which is slightly unusual because this plane for me is one of those aspects of history which is just so mind-bogglingly crazy that I couldn't help but think about this plane when I was just thinking. I was just sat there like, what should I build? What should I build? And the moment this came into my mind, it wouldn't leave. It would not go back out of my mind, because today we're building an aircraft akin to and very similar in appearance to, but not exactly the same as, the XF-84G THUNDERSCREEch. Now, a lot of you are probably familiar with the THUNDERSCREEch and the forebearer, the pre-build, the vehicle it was designed off of, the F-84. That is the Thunderjet. The Thunderjet had many varieties of it made, and the THUNDERSCREEch was probably the craziest. But if you know of a crazier one, then do let me know. But the THUNDERSCREEch was an idea to basically put the propeller on the front, but still have the jet in the back. Now, the jet powered the propeller, but also it still acted as a jet. And so combining the two, the idea was you'd get the best of both worlds, I suppose. I don't exactly know the reasons behind its development, but I presume it's something along the lines of the acceleration benefits of a propeller-driven aircraft with the top speed of a jet-powered aircraft combined into one airframe. Seems like a pretty logical line of thinking. The aircraft is not one that has gone down in the history books as a success, let's just put it that way. The THUNDERSCREEch was plagued with development issues. Number one, just getting the thing to fly in the first place is quite a challenge, it turns out, because it's complex. That's just a lot of points of failure for an aircraft to have. And then when it did eventually fly, the test pilots didn't like it. Let's just put it that way. So the propeller on the front of the THUNDERSCREEch had to be specially designed because it was doing something that no propeller aircraft had ever really aimed to do before, and that was go insanely fast. Just crazy speeds. And that was not really what propellers were best at doing. So it kind of had these very strangely shaped propellers that if you look it up, you'll see exactly what I mean. And I've tried to recreate that a little bit with the propeller on the front of this thing. Don't worry, it doesn't stay that big. But, you know, it's just such a unique aircraft. And it was quite famous in its time, or should I say infamous, for being just unbearably loud. Like, for the pilot, for the people on the ground, for anyone in the same postcode as where this aircraft is being tested. Like, loud. Seriously loud. There's recordings of this aircraft, and a lot of those recordings of the sound of this thing, the microphone is just peaked from about 5 seconds in to the end of the video, and all you can just hear is rattling because it was so loud. And it is reported, though I don't believe it's confirmed whether this is true or not, but it's reported that the noise this aircraft generated had such a tone that it could make people soil their pants when they heard it. And thus, you may have heard of the term brown note. Apparently, this aircraft caused research into that. I don't know how true that is. I don't believe it is hugely truthful, but, you know, why get bogged down in things like the truth when we can have fun with lies? That is such a bad lesson to be telling you guys, by the way. Do bother with the truth, because the truth is important. But yeah. There you go. What? Wow. Yeah, this video's late is another thing I want to touch on for a split second. Sorry is basically all I can say about that. Frankly, I've not felt up for it. I should have probably taken an extra week off, but here we go. I've done it now, and actually I had a lot of fun recording this one. I got really worried. I was like, oh, I don't want to record. And then I was like, you know what? I feel like I should. So I'll just sit down and I'll see if it happens, and if not, we'll just do it another day. I didn't pressure myself to do it, and it just happened. All of this plane just emerged in about 45 minutes, and I enjoyed it. It was good fun. And so there we go. There's the spirit. We're back. We're back, boys and girls, and any other where in between of those two that might be watching. Yes. Oh man, there's a lot of this time lapse, and I've really made a meal of this one so far, haven't I? So I guess it's prime time to discuss differences between this and the real THUNDERSCREECH. Now, it's probably one of the closest aircraft I've built that is like closest to the real thing. I don't tend to build replicas. I don't set out to build a replica, because the problem, if I say I'm building a replica, if I get something wrong, you're gonna notice. You guys are you pay too much attention for me to get away with that one. So I tend not to build replicas. I tend to just go with an inspiration and just kind of, if it ends up looking exactly like it, then so be it. But I'm not like loading in blueprints on the side or whatever, because I personally, that's not kind of what I want to do here. I want to stretch my creative muscles just a little bit. But yeah, this thing ended up pretty damn close to the THUNDERSCREECH in most aspects. I feel like if you looked at it from a distance without having previously looked at a THUNDERSCREECH in a few days, you might not immediately point out all of the differences, and you might go, oh, that's a THUNDERSCREECH, which is hopefully what you did looking at this thumbnail. But yeah, well, you know, we're so deep into this speaking segment here that I feel like most of the viewers who just skipped through have probably skipped through now. So here you are. The remainder of you are the people who stick around and watch the building segments, and I believe that you're the kind of people who would care about what I'm about to ask you. So hopefully this hits the right audience. So let me know in the comments. So I have a Patreon at the moment. I have a Patreon channel, and there's a couple of lovely supporters on there, which I shout out at the end of my videos. Now, what would you prefer? Would you like me to leave that as a Patreon? Because I don't tend to do a lot on there, all things considered. You kind of get your shout out, and you get access to a Discord channel on my server in Discord, obviously, which is linked in the description, by the way. But beyond that, there's not a lot that I really want to do, because I don't want to lock content behind a paywall. That doesn't feel right for me. That's not the kind of content that I want to produce. So if that were to change, if I was to suggest a couple of options here, what would you like? So I'm going to drop a couple of ideas here. So number one idea is like an after show to these videos where I finish modifying the planes, maybe I add different ordnance to them, and there's just kind of a bit of a longer bit of content around the planes if you particularly enjoy them, and that's locked behind a little bit of a paywall, but it's not going to remove from the enjoyment of the original content, and that remains on Patreon. Or alternatively, would you like me to not do that and instead just leave the Patreon alone and don't change anything? Or final option, either of those two, but instead of on Patreon we do it on YouTube members. Or third option, either of those two, and we do it on both Patreon and YouTube members, which I'm not a huge fan of that idea, because I'm worried that I will subconsciously prefer one over the other. I don't want to be in a situation where the Patreon supporters get a certain amount of stuff and the YouTube members don't. So I will probably just pick one. But maybe it's a good prime time to move to YouTube memberships, because they are more on the platform, and I feel like I'm more likely to stick to anything that I offer to the supporters as a benefit. So, food for thought. Let me know if you like any of those ideas, or if you hate them. Because both are equally good feedback. But the plane is pretty much done here. We're just doing a little bit of a livery, which I don't tend to include, so hopefully you enjoyed that part. But it's time to fly the brown note machine. Enjoy. Okay, here we go. We have our aircraft. Now, I am no genius when it comes to aerodynamics. I don't study it. I don't really know beyond, like, a beginner's level about aerodynamics. But from what I understand, this propeller here is generating some thrust, even at the high speeds that we're going. Not a lot, but it's generating some. So this thing is a really weirdly shaped propeller, as you can probably already tell, but the reason it's shaped like this is at the start you want to cut through as much air as possible, and then at the tips of the wings you want to be going just straight through the air, basically. Just a tiny little bit of angle, because the further out you are from the center, the faster the actual tip of the blade is spinning, and you've got to have less angle, otherwise it's just going to cause a lot of drag and then negative effects on the aircraft. And then obviously we have a traditional jet exhaust on the back here. So this thing has quite a lot more power than the existing model of the THUNDERSCREECH, the XF84G. So we can go a fair whack faster. The fastest speed that the real one was alleged to fly was around about 850 kilometers an hour. I think it was a little bit more than that, but yeah, that was the fastest speed that I think it was fully tracked as hitting, but it was meant to hit Mach 0.9 was the hoped top speed. So we're hoping that today we can exceed that, and I've flown this around a couple times, and I'm just going to say, yeah, we exceed that. So let's see how fast we can go with a plane that derives some of its thrust from a propeller. Granted, not all of it. Okay, so here we are on the runway. You can see that we got the parking brake on because the idle throttle on this thing is pretty aggressive, but the propeller here, if we zoom on in, is generating negative thrust right now, but once you actually get going, that is going to solve itself. But we'll kind of just keep that up in the background there, because I promise you, it does make thrust. Look, there we go. It's flipped over to making positive thrust for some reason. We're going to turn that brake off, and we're going to go for a takeoff here. Now, I'm not going to put us up to full throttle, just because, on one hand, this propeller is actually generating quite a lot of torque, which does make taking off a little bit tricky if you are going 100% throttle. But also, on the other hand, I want to kind of show off the little trick that this plane has up its sleeve later, and that is that is the top speed of this thing. So we're just going to leave it at about 53%. Now, the propeller means this thing accelerates so fast. You can just see the thrust there is actually pretty high for a propeller, even though we have a maximum Mach of 1.12. So this is actually part of the real THUNDERSCREECH's design. The tip of the blade would repeatedly basically go in and out of the sound barrier. Now, this is consistently within it, so it wouldn't be quite as bad as the THUNDERSCREECH was. But the problem with the THUNDERSCREECH was because the tip of the blade was constantly breaking the sound barrier. Like, I think it was something like a thousandth of a second between each breaking of the sound barrier that the blades would make, or something ridiculous like that. Don't quote me on that, though. I'm not the most researched on the THUNDERSCREECH, but basically it made a horrific noise, which is reported, but not confirmed, to have caused multiple people to soil their pants. Let's just leave it at that. But anyway, we're already going insanely fast. But what we're going to do here is I'm going to go into mouse aim so that we can have a really stable flight. And even with ordnance, we're just going to hit it up to 100% throttle here. And as you can see, we have an afterburner. So suddenly, we are going really fast. And the goal here is breaking the sound barrier. Now, that may not sound difficult given how fast we accelerated, but this propeller really starts generating some drag once you get up to Mach 1, but we will hopefully be able to get there. We may have to drop our ordnance here, which looks like we're going to have to do. Okay, right, we're going to quick ordnance releasing spree. I haven't set a key for these, which was my bad, but I forgot. Frankly, I just forgot. Right, there we go. Now, we hopefully can reach Mach 1 in this thing. We're at 0.99 Mach in a slight dive right now. Come on. We can do it. 99. Might need a bit more altitude than this, but hopefully not. Come on. Okay, we've climbed up. There we go! Mach 1. 3,400 meters, and we've hit Mach 1. We will not be going much quicker than this. It is a serious struggle to get to Mach 1 when you've got this propeller blade generating all kinds of drag up front. But There we go. Right, we're going to cut the throttle so we don't run out of fuel here, because that afterburner seriously cooks through your fuel supply really, really quickly. And we're going to try and land this, get our ordnance back, and then we will go out for a little mission package. So we got 2 anti-air missiles and 2 air-to-ground missile bays. I nearly said missiles. Air-to-ground rockets. That's the one. Okay, weapons got. So we've got 2 air-to-air missiles. So hopefully taking down 2 target drones today. And then we got quite a lot of missiles. So what I'll probably do is spawn in a number of tanks and hope that we can get a couple that spawn together. And then we can do a couple of... a little strike where we take out more than one at a time, maybe. That would be nice to do. So let's just build up a little bit of speed and altitude here and get ourselves some target drones spawned in. Okay, we're going to spawn in 2 target drones here. We got 1 behind us going away, 1 to our right coming towards us. I would like to eventually get that guy so I don't have to spawn in any more and leave them alive, but we're going to go for this guy first. Now, we don't have any guns on this aircraft, so we are entirely relying on our missiles to take these guys out, so we're going to be a little bit careful on when we launch. I'm going to wait for 2K, I think, and then we're going to launch one off, and hopefully it flies true. Now, somebody was hoping that we could go and zoom in on our missiles, and there you go. You can. And is it going to hit? No, it's just gone right below them. That's unusual. Okay, so that's that's rather unfortunate. I was hoping to take down 2, but after such an unsuccessful missile launch, we're gonna have to go for both on one target. That's a crying shame. But luckily, we find ourselves in a rather favourable position for launching said missile. Hopefully that. What? Okay, bit of a target-rich environment for tanks here. We've spawned in quite a number. I see a group of 2 and then another one a little further away here. So let's see if we can have any successes with the rockets. Much like the great successes we had with the target drones. And just to provide a little bit of evidence that these propellers are still generating thrust, you can see here we are, 1,000 kilometers an hour. We're still generating 8 kilonewtons of force on this propeller. So it is doing something, I believe. We are inbound on our ground-based targets here. We're going to lower the throttle because we don't want to be going too quick when we make our strike here. And unfortunately, this tailplane is just going to be slightly in the way based on how the design of this aircraft works. Might even be better to go for some kind of first-person strike here, which is probably the first time that we've done that. Those missiles were a little bit short, but as we get closer, obviously that's going to improve. There goes 1 tank, and we'll swap over to our second target here. This should be a little bit easier, hopefully. We're a little closer. There we go. We got him with a couple of those. I don't know how many actual rockets we have left. Looks like plenty. So let's go try and take out this guy on the hill over here. And then I think we'll call this as successful of a mission as it can be after my missiles decided to just loop rather than going for the target drones, which I'm still very offended about. I need to work on my interiors a little bit more. You can see I started one, but I'm running out of time. This video's already late. Okay, right. Missiles, high, just 1. Perfect shot, right? No. Wow, I got shut down real quick by that. That looks good, though. There we go. And hell, you know, I'm enjoying this so much. We're going to get this guy over here as well. Okay, we're going to try a long-range missile here, 4 kilometers. Come on. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness me. This is a great ground striker. Terrible for putting air-to-air missiles on, though, apparently. I still don't know what that was. But, yeah, we're going to drop this munition package, and then we're going to go straight home and call it a day. Okay, our idle throttle is a bit high here, so we're going to have to shut the engine off just before we go in for our landing, as all good aircraft must, probably. Yeah, this is a little bit on the rickety side here, but that's okay. Here we are at 460. We're going to drop the ignition, and this should be enough speed to safely land this aircraft now. We're just going to have to give it a little bit more trim so that my mouse is actually centered. And here we go. We've got a headwind, which is perfect for a landing. And any moment now, we should be touching down. Oh, God. We've bounced a little bit there. And there we go. Rear wheels and then front wheel. And now we just wait for the brakes to do their thing. Which they should eventually. They may not be the best brakes in the world, but they are brakes. Yep. Yeah. We're slowing down. Coming to a stop. We're slowing the plane down. We're slowing down. And there we go. There is our little THUNDERSCREECH kind of thing. I think this is really cool. So let me know if you enjoyed this one in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy it, please have a like. Or subscribe to the channel. Why not? And I will see you in future episodes with more cool stuff like this. But for now, goodbye! But just quickly before the outro, if you're watching this video just as it goes live, there should be a YouTube stream on my channel right now where we're playing the Brew Barons and giving away a couple of keys. So if this video is fresh, check that out, please. It's going to be good. And of course, a huge thank you to this channel's patrons: Ambroise Badger, CamJam135, Cody N, DJ Pete, Skavoon, Gammaster929, Sad Cat, Just Casualty 601, Last 11, Mark, Unofficially, Mildly Invested, Nicholas K, RMS Carpathia 1902, Rawsers Bokken, Ryan Brody, The Canadian Emperor, Zerosheim, and Zeit Wolverine. Thank you so much for your support.